You know, in Luke 22, Jesus made a new covenant. A new covenant. We live in a new covenant. In Hebrews chapter 8, you can look these up because I'm just going to go through them quickly. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10 through 13 says that when there's a new covenant, I'll just read this part to you. Verse 13 says there's a new covenant, and he said, we made the first covenant obsolete. And whatever is becoming obsolete is growing old and is already disappearing. So I went to a round table some years ago with prophets, and they told me we're living in the old covenant and the new covenant. I'm like, that's a schizophrenic ministry. No, Jesus made a new covenant, and he fulfilled the old covenant. He didn't abolish it, he fulfilled it. And he fulfilled the law and the prophets. And then he created a new order of prophets. How many of you know there was a Levitical order of priests, and then there was the Melchizedek order of priests. There was the old order of prophets, and then there's the new covenant order of prophets. The old order of prophets, they prophesied against countries, cities, and people. Why? Because the message of the old covenant was, you deserve to be punished. You sinned, and you need a savior. And the whole message, the message of the Old Testament is, you need a savior. In fact, Galatians says, Paul writes in Galatians says, it was a tutor to teach us that we needed a savior. So what was the main message of the Old Testament? You deserve to be judged. So the prophets were the voice of that covenant. And Deuteronomy 28 says, from 1 to 14 says, God said, if you follow me, here's all the amazing things I'll do for you. From 1 to 14. From 15 to 68, God said, and if you serve other gods, here's all the things that will happen to you. I think it's around verse 28 of chapter 28 that says, and there will be no rain in your land. But Jesus said, you've heard it said, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, and you shall be like your Father in heaven, who makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. How many know on this side of the cross, it didn't rain when you served other gods. But on this side of the cross, it's the great and glorious. When the moon turned to blood, God makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. He makes it rain on people who don't deserve it. He's no longer genociding people. He's actually saying, love your enemies. In the Old Testament, he told Joshua, kill everybody. In the New Testament, he said, love everybody.